Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. The 3-day visit of US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to Calcutta and Delhi, her last apparently in an official capacity, has raised a lot of issues. One of which was her decision to go to Calcutta and meet the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, which has raised the hackles among many, not least the CPIM, which has taken strong objection to it. However, there are many other issues which are equally, if not more important, like the pressure she has put on India to reduce its dependence on Iran for its oil requirements and for the FDI in retail. During the joint press conference with the External Affairs Minister S.M.Krishna today, Clinton also laid stress on the strategic partnership and the military cooperation, nuclear commerce, as well as India's Look East policy, as well as Pakistan and Afghanistan. Some of these issues have been quite controversial. In fact, the nuclear and strategic partnership had in fact led to the withdrawal of support to the UPA-1 government by the left parties. So today, we are looking at all these issues which have cropped up following Hillary Clinton's visit and the takeaways from it. To discuss this, I have with us an eminent panel of guests. Sitaram Yechury, leader of the CPIM in the Rajya, and his party's Politburo member will be joining us very soon. Veena, Sikri, former High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Anand, Sahay, coordinating editor, Asian Age, and Prof.Swaran Singh, chairman, Center for International Politics in the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Welcome to all my guests. First, let me go to Veena, Sikri. You think Clinton came here with a clear agenda? Why did she go to Calcutta first? Was it part of the clear agenda, or is it just itinerary situation?
I think there definitely was a clear agenda, and I'd like to place her visit in a certain context, which is very important for India to note. She was coming from China. Normally, when dignitaries go to China, China expects them to come to China and go back.
Yes.
Now, putting India in the same visit as China is very significant. Just a few years ago, India and Pakistan were being put in that same kind of a balance.
Yes.
Now you see it's India and China.
Right.
And it's a great strategic emergence that India has now been put into this higher pedestal, as it were. We have a strategic dialogue with America that will take place in June. We are preparing for the strategic dialogue through Hillary Clinton's visit.
Yes.
That's very important. Now, if you see the US perspective on Asia, they definitely have an Asian view for the 21st century. And in this, it's much more oriented towards the East.
Right.
Myanmar is now a very big aspect of this. Myanmar, Bangladesh, Kolkata, India.
Yeah.
And now here, this is where Kolkata fits in. This is where the whole visit to Kolkata comes in, because I see it as part of a sub-regional focus within the US vision for Asia in the 21st century, where connectivity is a very big important player, where India's Look East policy is very important, and you see this sub-regional Bangladesh, Myanmar, Northeast India, West Bengal, a very important focus.
Isn't it unusual, Professor Swaran Singh, that, Look East policy is fine, as Veena Sikri just said, that their strategy, that the entire strategy. But isn't it unusual that a US Secretary of State goes to a state, an Indian state, woos an Indian Chief Minister? Isn't it quite unusual?
I think it's clearly, as Veena Sikri said, a reflection of a very clear understanding of what US is trying to communicate here.
Right.
Calcutta was kind of a not allowed area for the United States for a long time.
As long as the left front government
so
was
now
there.
I think it's a clear assertion of not only just business on the ground, but also political signaling here, that Calcutta is a base for India's Look East policy. Calcutta is a base for linking with China.
For the US also.
Yes, exactly, for United States. So in some ways it is opening up a whole new zone for themselves and underlining the linkage that India has, as it is said, act in East Asia, not just look at East Asia. And of course, linkage with China is also very clear, that India and China are seen as partners for Asia, for United States. So I think there's a lot of symbolism here, but also symbolism for Hillary Clinton at home. I think that also is an interesting take, what it means for United States, but more especially what it means for Hillary Clinton herself to make such a visit across Asia.
Okay. I think we have Sitaram Yechury joining us now. Mr. Yechury, can you hear me?
Yes, Girish.
Okay. Mr. Yechury,
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton goes to Calcutta first.
Yeah.
You people have taken objection to it. Do you see this as some kind of a interference on the part of the US about internal affairs of the country, or how do you look at this?
You see, there are various things why we have objected. I mean, the first of these is the fact that often and always, whenever you have a foreign diplomat or a foreign dignitary that comes to visit India officially,
right,
they first visit New Delhi, meet with their counterparts, to have the discussions, and then to go to some state or the other.
Yes.
Here, things have happened in the reverse.
Right.
And it's no argument that since she was coming from Dhaka, Calcutta, next door, therefore it is it. I mean, that is no argument in diplomacy.
She need not have saved some money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't believe that the crisis and recession in the US is so bad that she couldn't have come here first. Anyway, that apart. The media report suggested that she is going to raise the issue of Teesta river water sharing.
Yes.
And also the question of FDI in retail.
Right.
Now, on both these issues, we have serious objections because the Teesta river water sharing is an issue between two sovereign countries.
Right.
And both are engaged in discussions on this, and neither had even asked for any assistance, a third-party assistance.
Right.
And neither wants any interference by anybody. So this is a completely unsolicited intervention in our internal affairs, which is extremely objectionable. I mean, it's not only the left. I think any patriotic Indian would feel so.
There has been some interesting observations about this decision of Hillary to go to Calcutta. One of the observations is that it only shows how weak the central government is. Do you subscribe to that view, or do you see it as part of an agenda of the US?
It is definitely, I think, part of the agenda of the US. I mean, about the weakness of the central government, etc., that's a separate issue. I mean, that would also be a factor. But I think the USA is eyeing this entire region,
right,
which is Myanmar, which is Bangladesh, which is West Bengal, which is our northeast. This is an area that is floating on natural gas.
Okay.
And I think this potential has been discovered and identified by the USA, that after the Middle East, this is going to be the target, the target of their interest, and their strategic interest lies here in terms of economic resources for the future.
Right.
So I think that is an important region why they are actually cultivating, let's say, a little more Bangladesh and these countries, as I'm sure we shall see this particular aspect unfolding in the future.
Okay. Sitaram, you please stay on. I'll come back to you. There are several other important issues which needs to be discussed. Anand, coming to you. The central government seems to have kept quiet. Let us assume that the government in West Bengal was not a government led by an ally. If it was somebody else, do you think the government at the center would have agreed to this kind of a itinerary?
Well, I'm a patriotic Indian, and I think I'm more, in sync with what Ambassador Veena Sikri was saying a little while ago, that there is politics in this, but it's not the idea is not to upstage the government of India and highlight a particular state. If you'd recall, not so long ago, a few months ago, maybe about a year ago, the same American leader was in Chennai, where she made a big speech about the.
But she didn't go to Chennai directly.
The new Silk Road. But what I'm saying is that these days, the fact that if she was doing some strange secret stuff in Calcutta, and which would be wholly alien to the thought processes in Delhi and so on. The fact is, not now, since the days of Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, the Look East policy saw its first light then. The adumbrations of that policy, when we were disengaging with the
but it's very
old non-aligned era, began then.
Sitaram Yechury's interpretation of Look East policy and your interpretation of Veena Sikri's interpretation is completely,
if I may just complete this the thing is this, the US has made no secret of its fresh, renewed, enhanced engagement with the Asia-Pacific region after it disengages from the West Asia militarily and, economically and so on. And in that case, India too is looking in, roughly speaking, the same place, though, our aspirations don't always have to match, our needs don't have to match.
Absolutely.
And yet there is a certain degree of connect.
No, in fact, during today's press conference, repeatedly Hillary Clinton kept mentioning about the way the convergence of goals of India and US. But do you think that convergence is there as far as Iran is concerned? In the case of Iran, they are very clear that India should reduce its dependence of oil on Iran. But do you think India should do that or is doing that?
No, I think that the important point which came out in the press conference today is the clear impression for India and for the US that we are valuing our strategic dialogue and conversation, and we feel that this is important for our bilateral relationship and for shaping the future course of events in the world.
Right.
So this is a kind of a partnership that is there. I think it has assumed a new maturity, especially in the context of Iran, as you mentioned. If you know, a few years ago, when we were in the midst of negotiating the nuclear deal, India had voted against Iran.
Right.
And there was a lot of, political turbulence around that vote. Today, India's relationship, India's self-confidence has grown enormously, and our confidence in the relationship with USA has grown, and we have realized that yes, we do have an important relationship, but there are points on which we will continue to disagree. And that maturity of disagreement has been shown in the way we have expressed our views on Iran. And Foreign Minister Krishna was very clear in his statement, and he said that we have a very important relationship with Iran. We have 6 million people living in the Gulf. We need that
he tried
oil.
to balance the thing.
Yes,
pretty.
yes.
But let us see what a politician, a left-wing politician thinks. Sitaram,
Yes.
Veena Sikri says that there is a certain amount of maturity which has come into the relationship between India and the United States. Do you see that as a maturity, the way India is dealing with Iran and the pressures being put on it by the US?
I wish that was true. But then, you have a situation where the finance minister earlier said that no, we will not stop buying oil from Iran because that's economically beneficial to us. But then you see within the last 2 years or so,
right,
the amount of oil that we are buying has significantly declined.
Yes.
Why? Now, is that also a reflection of maturity, let's say, in diplomacy as far as stocks are concerned? And
apparently the refineries are making that decision.
So we are told. I mean, is that the fact? Now that is the way the actual rub lies, Mr. Nikam. The point is that what we can talk, what we do that in terms of our public display, or in terms of what we are conveying, and what we actually do in reality.
Right.
I mean, that is where the things stand. Why did the Iran gas pipeline not come? Why are our the oil that we are buying declining very significantly from Iran? Now, these are ground realities, and this is what tells you the truth, that you are succumbing to these pressures.
Okay. Professor Swaran, are we succumbing to the pressures?
Let me come on 2 issues on diplomacy that
yes.
Sitaram Yechury mentioned. One, it is not necessary that any leader visiting a country should visit the capital city first. President Obama came to Mumbai first and then came to Delhi. So I think it is a certain amount of calibration that occurs between the central government, federal government and the visitors. And I don't think we should overplay that and sort of go as far as saying there's an interference in such sentiments. Second issue on Iran, I think it's an interesting relationship. India again has been trying to sort of carefully balance and calibrate policies, and so we have not completely given up on what is called a strategic partnership with Iran. And it's normal in diplomacy again to have public posturing and sort of private But
the fact that our dependence on the oil on Iran is reducing quite dramatically is a fact.
Is a fact, but again, see, you also at the same time notice the public posturing that India does. So we have to fine-tune, balance the relationship between Iran. We have not given up completely on Iran, but of course, United States is a far, influential actor in international system. So you cannot also not completely ignore what United States want you to do. So I think it's a fine tune and balancing which is occurring, which doesn't necessarily mean that we are able to bully people around, but we have to understand our limitations, and within limitations we are obeying.
Veena, Sikri,
I want to add to that, because I think there's a very important point that Hillary Clinton herself made on Iran, that we have to put pressure on them, otherwise they will not come to dialogue with us on their nuclear program. Now the US is themselves having talks with Iran.
Right.
So I think we have to be aware of that, and we cannot succumb to pressure, because we have to keep our own interests in the region.
But she repeatedly stressed this point that the international community needs to keep the pressure on, and she kept saying that India needs to keep the pressure on.
But that is the whole trip about.
It's the whole trip about.
We are balancing it. We are balancing it.
Okay, we need to go to a short break now. We'll come back very soon. Please keep watching. Welcome back. We are discussing the 3-day visit of US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to India and what are the takeaways of that visit. Let me go to Sitaram, Yechury. See, there are other issues which have cropped up during this visit. It's very interesting that both on the issue of nuclear commerce, as well as the strategic partnership with India, especially the military partnership, these were things which Hillary Clinton stressed during her press conference. In fact, these are the two issues on which you people withdrew support to the UPA-1 government.
That's right.
But these issues, you people have not been able to get the government to go back on it. The government seems to be going ahead with this on all the issues which you had raised.
No, you see, we had passed a civil nuclear liability bill.
Right.
Now, under the bill, the US is not satisfied, because that does not absolve the person or the company or the corporation that sells you the nuclear reactor from taking the responsibility in the case of a nuclear accident.
Yes.
Now, that is what they want, and therefore they have framed rules which actually negate, in our opinion, the very fundamental aspects of that bill. Now, that is now under review by the Parliament within our system. The Committee of Subordinate Legislation is actually reviewing those rules. We have raised our objections to some of these rules, saying that they negate the basic bill.
Yes.
And it is this that the United States of America is very unhappy about, and they somehow want to hasten that process.
The level playing field. Today, Hillary Clinton mentioned a couple of times that India has promised a level playing field to the US companies as far as the nuclear commerce is concerned. The Nuclear Power Corporation of India and US companies are directly in conversation with each other. So,
absolutely, the level playing field will have to be a level playing field with India, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, the level playing field cannot be a level playing field where a company will absorb, a corporation will absorb, is absolved of all liability in the case of a nuclear accident.
Right.
That is as simple as that, the point.
Yes.
And that is something which the Indian Parliament, in its own wisdom, decided not to give, not only to the USA, to any other country in the world.
Absolutely.
And to that extent, it's a level playing field. It's the same thing that applies to everyone.
But apparently, today's, if you go to the text of the conversation of the press conference, there is a hint of indication that the US is expecting India to tone down some of these things. Anyway, we will see. Let me go to
Anand. Let me
Yeah.
hear Mr. Nikam just
Yes.
take up one point. You see,
Yes.
the point is what was being discussed earlier, Mr. Singh was talking about. I mean, it's not a question saying that we cannot ignore US's point of view because of what its position in the world today is. Diplomacy and foreign relations and foreign policy is always an extension of your domestic policy.
Okay.
Now, you will have to decide where you stand. It's not a question of ignoring, but what are the interests of our country, which must be our utmost priority.
Absolutely.
The Prime Minister keeps talking of enlightened, if I may quote him, enlightened national interest.
Yes.
Is it in our enlightened national interest to cut down our trade and commerce and relations with Iran today because the USA is pressurizing? Now, in practical terms, that is a question that needs to be assessed.
Yes. Okay. Anand, enlightened national interest, he says, you think the Indian government is, whatever it's proceeding with the United States, it's going to have a strategic, meet in, strategic partnership meet in US in June. All these things you think are going in tune with the national interest of India?
Well, I don't think that there is any violation of our national interest. I think in my view, Iran and the civil nuclear question,
yes,
so that American companies can now participate, these two, on the basis of discussions held in Delhi and Calcutta and so on, all these places, these were the key issues. And Iran, I'm happy to say personally, that what Foreign Minister Krishna underlined was that our relationship with Iran is not confined to energy trade.
Absolutely.
Because we have other interests. And the Secretary of State was on another track altogether.
Yes.
She was on the track of, we must keep the pressure on.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, I don't think by reducing your oil supplies and so on, we never know, the oil supplies may well increase. It's not like, you've passed a formula, passed a legislation, passed a law or bill for all time to come. She in Calcutta spoke yesterday about enhanced oil flows from places like Iraq, to meet, for those countries which need a lot of oil,
yes,
to meet the disruption from Iran. But we are not entering that debate. Maybe we have pulled it out today, dropped some a little bit. We can enhance it tomorrow. But our relationship with Iran goes well beyond, petroleum, and that was stressed. And that I don't think is a sign of a country which has keeled over. So I'm not sure.
Prof.Swaran Singh, you think that the reaction of people like Sitaram Yechury is exaggerated?
Not really, but notice the prefix of enlightened national interest. What it means you have to underline the distinction between what is desirable and what is feasible.
Yes.
So, of course, yes, we know what is ultimately good for the country, but we also have to juxtapose it, look it in the context of what is the governance skills, what is the efficiency, what is the situation that the government can deliver and how far it can deliver. So, if you put these things together, there are limitations. So, it's not that we are giving away a lot of opportunities. I think we are really trying to bargain. And in bargaining, it is normal that you make concessions, you take hits, and then you make compromises.
It is very interesting, Veena Sikri. I mean, we'll go to the other subject, Pakistan. There have been a lot of controversy about that huge award which has been offered to catch Hafiz Saeed. But, and there have been controversies about that. The ambassador had said something. Now she's coming back to saying that, we are actually offering award to get Hafiz Saeed.
I think what you said about Pakistan is a very important factor. We were speaking of perhaps divergence of point of view of USA and India on Iran. But on two important aspects, we have seen a crucial convergence of interest.
Yes.
Let us take Myanmar first for just a minute. A few years ago, we had a huge divergence of interest with USA on Myanmar. But India stuck to its guns. We followed our policy with Myanmar. And today it's paid tremendous dividends because America has also come around to the same view on Myanmar.
Yes.
Pakistan is another very, very important aspect, as you just said, where India and USA today have a complete convergence of points of view and interests on Pakistan. And we've had a convergence on the role of Hafiz Saeed, which is very important. She has brought it back on the right track. And what the American ambassador said in Islamabad has been completely negated. We have said a complete convergence of views on the presence of terrorist sanctuaries in Pakistan, on the negative role of these sanctuaries in India and in Afghanistan, and on the importance of allowing Afghanistan to develop on its own, its economic governance, political governance and security governance. I think these are very important aspects which will play a certain important role. The American Congressman Dana Rohrabacher has written to the Prime Minister of Pakistan, calling Pakistan a failed state.
Right.
And nobody in the American establishment has opposed this. So I think this importance of the convergence on Pakistan is an example of where if we maintain our own interests and provide the evidence of that interest and what we are suffering from as a victim of terrorism, the Americans have come around to it because their own interests have converged.
So, Sitaram, at least on the convergence of Indian and US interests as far as Pakistan is concerned, you think that is a positive signal?
Well, I would, let us see. The convergence was apparent. What Sikri is saying is perfectly correct at the moment, as it looks like it. But I would still be very given the last 40, 50 years of experience of the U.S.-Pakistan relations.
Right.
Now, at the present moment, they may appear converging because of what is happening in Afghanistan. But I do not think we should take that as some sort of a permanent shift that has occurred. I mean, so therefore, at the moment, let us see. Let us see. I mean, because I'm still not sure, because things are still in a flux. They are unfolding, and as they unfold now in Pakistan, I mean, how they'll turn out, we'll have to be very watchful and very careful, and not really go around hoping that the United States of America will carry on our what we call desires of what ought to happen with Pakistan, or changes that ought to happen in Pakistan. But there's another dimension, Mr. Nikam, which I think maybe we may not have time to discuss that this time, but that's also got to do with the other side, and that is with China.
Okay. Yes, China
and that is an important element.
In fact, Sitaram, just before you came and joined us, Veena Sikri pointed out the importance of Clinton coming from China to India, and how it is for the first time that such a thing is happening. Anyway, we're completely run out of time. Anand, last words to you quickly. You think this visit of Hillary Clinton, her last apparently as an official, in her official capacity, will take India-US relations further, smoothen India relations further?
Well, I think, I mean, the two are not linked. The India-US relations have been growing. They're fairly good. They will grow stronger. Looking at, the beyond the bilateral, beyond the strictly regional and so on. There are so many things on which we agree in the world, but there are still some things we do not agree on.
Yes.
And I don't see,
convergence,
the total convergence, etc. But on Pakistan, I think Mr. Yechury is dead right. Because they have spoken about Hafiz Saeed and so on.
Okay.
But I think on China, etc., there will never be a convergence. And yet, there will be strong similarities.
Okay. We completely run short of time. It's evident that Hillary Clinton's visit has raised a lot of issues and a lot of interesting issues which we need to watch. As Sitaram Yechury says, we can't take everything that they are offering for granted. In any case, India-US relationship is on the uptake, whatever the left front in any case feels. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to all my guests, Mr. Sitaram Yechury, Prof.Swaran Singh, Veena Sikri, and Anand Sahay. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on The Big Picture.